Da-dum.
Hi guys, from MMA Island here with UFC Featherweight Josh Emmett. Josh, I want to thank you so much for taking the moment of your time to join us. How's your quarantine been going, man? How's life been?
Man, it's been honestly, I was doing a lot of interviews and people asked me that question, but for me, it feels like as crazy as it sounds, the same routine, just because I don't have a regular 8 to 5 job. So it's like, I think the people that have that and they're sitting at home and quarantine, they're going stir crazy. But for me, I still stick to the same regimen. I get up at the same time, I eat healthy, I go do a workout, or work with a coach one-on-one, or go lift or do my thing. So it's kind of a similar routine, just I'm not having practice because the gym's closed, but we're doing one-on-one stuff.
Totally. And how important is that to you? Like staying on schedule, like staying active. Like I'm sure a lot of people want to lay in bed, watch Netflix, sleep in, all that stuff. And you're not doing that. Why are you one of those people other than obviously your career?
Just because, I feel like I haven't fought since July. So I feel like I've been traveling. I've got to do that. And so now I really need to just stay focused, because I was hoping to fight soon. And then this, the COVID-19 stuff happened and lockdown and all this other stuff. So I know we're going through some difficult and challenging times right now, but just in case I get a call and they give me, 5-6 weeks out, and I can possibly, in my eyes, I keep saying, be a part of history, because in order for us to be the only sport up and running in the world, and then getting an opportunity to fight during a time like this and have, more eyes and the entire world watching us, I'm looking to be a part of that. And I have stayed active. I have, I'm using this quarantine to better myself and stay on a diet, stay active. I've actually lost a ton of weight during this. I'm like, I'm going to come out of this better than when I went into it. I could have sat on the couch and ate all this food, but I've been on like a strict diet, and I probably lost like 15 pounds, honestly, in the last month through this quarantine.
And I assume that keeps you in shape to get to a fight. So if a fight opportunity came up in the next couple of weeks, because they're going to be dishing them out real fast, trying to get this back in gear. If someone calls you and says, "Hey, look, we got a higher ranked opponent ready to go for you," what do you say?
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping something like that happens, but I still feel like I need a little bit of time. If someone called me today and said, "You're fighting in 6 weeks," okay, let's do it. But I feel like I'm not going to take something if they called me and say, "Hey, you want to fight in 2 weeks?" Like, yeah. No. But I'm preparing for something, and then as long as I get some type of notice, then yeah, I'm all for it, man. Like that's what I want to do, and I'm hoping. So I'm just waiting for the phone to ring.
Exactly. And that motivation, it's been prominent throughout your career. And I know, going back to how you started your career, you had a clear path ready to go for you in law enforcement and calls from police academies and all that, saying they have a job ready for you to go. And you took that opportunity to swap over to MMA and go to MMA primarily. How was that decision like? Like where did the line go?
I feel like man, there's two things in my life that I've always wanted to do, and is be a police officer or pro athlete. And at the time, I'm thinking about a pro athlete. I'm not thinking about, MMA, because it wasn't around when I was a kid. It was like boxing, but I was thinking like basketball, football. And then obviously I got a little older. I didn't grow anymore. So I was like, okay, basketball's out of the question. But I feel like my wife being one of the biggest supporters, and I don't know, just through my wrestling career and through college and struggled this whole time until I almost got into the UFC. And then even that, it's not like it's still tough, until literally the last few years. I've like, okay, we've been able to do things that I've never been able to do before. That was always in the plan. But so I'm glad I took that route, because I feel like I still haven't even scratched the surface of what I'm capable of and what I'm going to do in the sport. And I'm just excited for the future. I'm excited for the path I took, because I feel like, no matter what, I always reach. I don't know. It's been a crazy journey, because nothing's been handed out to me. Like, I feel like I've taken the hardest path there. A lot of people get things, they build them up, they hand them stuff. But for me, it's been just overcoming adversity and literally just setback after setback. But then because of that, it leads me to a different route, and then something good comes from it. So I'm truly grateful for the path I've taken and everything that's happened in my career, because it's just part of my story, and I'm going to keep on going until I get to the top.
Totally. Do you look back at that, like getting into MMA compared to law enforcement, when you were comparing your two options? Do you look at swapping to MMA as you just drop what you were doing and like you were chasing your dreams, or do you view like you would have been great either way? Like, do you think if I chose to go with law enforcement, that's what it would have been? Like, how do you view that sort of?
Yeah, no, and that's exactly, I was doing things to set me up for it. I went to school, I got a psychology degree. As soon as I got finished with school and wrestling, I came back. I was working at a group home, and I was doing things like that just to build my resume. A lot of things I've been doing. I have connections and contacts in the Sacramento area, and but one of the things that would bother me, and me going back to my wife saying that she's my biggest supporter, just because she was like, she didn't want me to have any regrets, and either did I didn't want to go do that and then be one of those guys, like I always say, like Al Bundy or something, be like, I could have done this, or like, you know what I mean, like just kind of like, not a has-been, but
No regrets.
woulda, coulda, shoulda,
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to have any regrets, and so that's why I was going with this. But for me, it was different too, because I only wanted to fight in the UFC from the get-go. That was my goal, to get to the UFC, and then I could set new goals when I got there. So I got offers from other organizations, and they're great and all this stuff, but the biggest, best platform in my mind is the UFC, and that's what I was gunning for, and I got there, and then obviously once I get there, you got to set new goals and reach for the stars, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm glad the path I went, because who knows, I would have, I can be good at anything that I do, but I would always have that in the back of my mind, like, what if, you know what I mean? So here I am, here I am, and yeah, I'm super happy I chose this route.
Yeah, and seeing like you were saying, how your biggest supporter was your wife. Like looking back on your supporters who were early on in your MMA career, you must look at them and seeing how you're having these huge wins now. You must think like, wow, they had that support in me. Here I am, and I'm sure they're happy for you as well.
Yeah, and that's the same thing going back to that. Like, I was almost, because I felt bad, because we were living in friends' bedrooms, living at my mom's, like just doing stuff, living in a studio, and for me to chase this dream of mine, I felt bad, but I was almost going to hang it up. Like, if I lost on the regional scene, I was fighting guys that were like UFC vets, people with like 20, 30 pro fights, because it was tough for me to get a fight. So if I lost one of those fights, I was done. And that's why I was like, oh, I need to get a regular job and, contribute to society, and just, because I've been chasing this. I can't chase it for too long. And then she's the one that said, just give it till the end of the year. And then that's when I beat a UFC vet. And then literally I was training for another fight. 2 months later, got a call on a 4 or 5 day notice, and flew across the world for my UFC debut. And if I would have hung it up, after that last fight or something, man, it goes back to the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
I just had something back in my mind I would have regretted.
Totally. Like so looking at your teammates now, like obviously you're a team alpha male, like Uriah Faber, how has he been as a teammate for you? Like just getting you through this like fight by fight and all that.
Yeah, and Team Alpha Male, it's man, they're just great. I have nothing but good things to say about everyone. And yeah, he's been a mentor of mine. He's like, he created this team, and he created such a good atmosphere. It's like a one-stop shop for all of our training partners. Yeah, I'm just fortunate. I always say I'm lucky that he created this in my backyard. I'm from Sacramento. He created one of the best gyms for the lighter weights in the world. So I didn't have to travel anywhere. And who knows if I would have even got into MMA if it wasn't for that. Like, I really don't know, because I was wrestling at a junior college in Sacramento at the time, when he came in dropping off flyers to his gym in 2005 that he was opening this thing. And I've always been a huge fan of, the UFC and MMA, and thought I could do it, but not until that time when he actually came in and I knew who he was. I was like, I'm gonna go to this gym after the wrestling season's up, and I want to fight. That was always in the back of my mind, but I do not know if I would have if he didn't open this gym in Sacramento. I don't think I would have went anywhere. So I probably wouldn't even be in the UFC. Yeah. So I think about that, and I feel like it all worked out perfect. It's crazy. I've been with the team for, over a decade. Like I went into his gym in 2005. It's 2020. It's crazy how fast time flies.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I think the same thing. It's you've always been one of the most like focused people inside and outside of the octagon. It's prominent. You're just telling me you're working outside. You're still going to, and I know you have Vibe Health Bar. You also you co-own that place, and you're also working with Feed the Front Lines. You just told me how you're having a press conference with them today. Talk to me a little bit about that, like keeping active outside of the octagon as well with all that.
Yeah, so just Sacramento being home to me, it's man, I know a lot of people here. Like I know a ton of people, and I feel like there's just a big group of stuff. There's this thing called Unite Sac. With the pandemic. It's a bunch of local residents that just came together, and they're trying to make a positive impact for the Sacramento community. So they're doing workouts every day. They're showing people like the local restaurants that are doing curbside pickups for meals, and they're just trying to get everyone involved in the community. And they started this. It's called Race for Sac. It's this week-long campaign, and they chose 4 different team leaders, and we're all representing 4 local Sacramento charities. And my name came up in a discussion through some of the restaurants that I go to and support, and they wanted me to be a team leader. So when they asked me, I was like, yeah, of course I'll do it. I was honored to do that. And so now I'm like, I was telling you, it feels like fight week to me because I have a PR person. They have this crazy schedule that I'm doing, like media obligations with all like the local news crews. I'm doing like podcasts. I'm doing stuff with like Good Day Sacramento. I'm radio shows and going into and doing stuff with people that write for the magazines and newspapers. So I've just been doing that, just trying to do my part, because I feel like Sacramento always has my back and they're in my corner when I fight around the country and around the world. And now it's my time, or it's my turn to return the favor. And I'm just super excited that they asked me about this to be a team leader and kind of raise as much money as possible for our frontline healthcare workers. And we've already raised over $20,000 with Feed the Frontline's 916, and by the end of this week we're already going to be able to prepare close to 1,000 meals. It's like we've already given out over 700 meals, and we'll be at 950 meals at the end of this week. So yeah, man, it's been fun, and yeah, I'm just trying to do what I can during this difficult time and help just the nurses and doctors, because I have a lot of friends that are LVNs, RNs, and a bunch of friends that are doctors. So just like me fighting, I feel that it's important for me to focus on the fight, and I have a whole team that takes care of my nutrition and stuff and fuels me. So I want them just to work on beating the COVID fight and winning that. Focus 100% on that. Let us fuel you. Let us be in your corner. Let us do what you need. And that's kind of what we've been doing. So
it's important to you to give back to the community, because as you said, like they've had your back this whole time. So it's found. Yeah, no, it's good that you do that. So I want to get back into the fight talk. There were so many, like reading all these rumors about all the fights that could be coming up for you. Like you had a fight schedule. There was talk of Barbosa coming down to featherweight. It's like, holy, it's like, do you even pay attention to the rumors, or do you just wait until it's like, all right, this is the guy, this is what's happening, and the fight gets signed?
Yeah, I have to. Like, obviously I see that, but it's like, yeah, like if you don't see me posting that I'm doing, it's probably not real, So yeah. The way I found out about that is, they've been talking about him coming down, and then the name's been out there. My manager's been talking, but I was on the phone with my manager, and he was telling me like I was trying to get possible dates, opponents, and then my phone was blowing up, and I looked at hey, look, they just announced I'm fighting him on this date. They never even asked me. So it's like, and then I see other people saying that I deliberately turned them down. And I'm like, I never got offered that fight, so I don't know who told you that. You can ask Sean. Like, I've never turned down a fight. But they literally have to ask me. But I don't know. I'm not opposed to certain fights, but like in my mind, I feel like I want to fight up, so it's getting me closer to a title fight. If they paid me and it all made sense from like a business standpoint, that'll set me up for the future, I'm down for it. But a lot of fights just, they don't do anything for me. You know what I mean? I feel like I fight someone that's coming down that he's Barbosa. He's a great fighter. I feel like one of the all-time greats. He's one of the top lightweights in the world, but he's coming down. He hasn't fought at featherweight. if I fight him and I win, I stay where I'm at. If he wins, he takes my spot, and I feel like they push him towards the title. It's just I'm in a weird position, and yeah, it's
Like looking at that, like you've fought, like I think your past 3 fights have been high, like lower ranked opponents. So like I was just thinking this the other day, like it's like I don't know what they should do with the UFC. Like should you be swapping back and forth with higher ranked opponents if you have a win? Because you've had 3 fights in a row. The last higher ranked opponent you fought, you knocked out cold with a left hook. So I mean, it's just looking at those fights. It's you want a higher ranked opponent. I think you're deserving of it as well. I think you match up great against Volkanovski. I think at the top, like Frankie Edgar is ranked higher than you. I think you could get through
but I think
him.
he's going down to bantamweight and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, but no, I feel like anyone, like I do feel like I match up well with Volkanovski. I feel like we have very similar styles. So for the fans, everything, I think it would be a really competitive and an exciting fight. And I feel like I was like, I know him and Max are going to fight. So it's like, who's next in line? It's Ortega. I was like, I think I match up really well against him. And then I want to fight the best as in him. So I would get the winner of them, whatever happens. But I'm just going to sit back and wait till I get a call.
Yeah. So looking at your game, like I think so you come from a wrestling background. Your last 3 wins have ended in a brutal knockouts, and it's crazy how good your striking is because you've dropped guys with left jabs, left hooks, right overhands. We'll get into talk about that in a minute, but it's just having that balance between striking and on the ground. How important is that to you to stay not to be one dimensional and then just to have a balanced game between both?
Yeah, and that's one thing. I have to go out there and kind of mix it up, and I feel like I can go out there, take people down, grind it out, but I feel like we're in the entertainment business. I know that's not exciting, and so I feel like I love boxing, I love striking. I feel like I just feel like I have power that when I hit people, they just they go out, and so that's why that's been in the game plan to start implementing some stuff, but it just hasn't gone that far. Or yeah, I don't know, but I'm good on the ground. I feel like I have a solid jiu-jitsu game. I've wrestled at the highest level, so it's like people that don't really. If you watch any of my regional fights on like starting out, I feel like my mindset, I'm like, I'm gonna go out there and knock this guy out and just stand with him. But the first time I get hit, I take him down. Then I'm getting TKOs from the ground, from ground and pound. I'm getting submissions. I'm doing all this stuff, just grinding people out, just heavy ground and pound with elbows and stuff like that. But I feel like if I was fighting that way in the UFC, I would not be where I'm at. As fast as I got there. Like I'm coming up on my 4-year anniversary in the UFC, and I'm going to be sidelined for over 2 years of that. So that's kind of crazy to think about too, But yeah, no, I have a well-rounded game, and one of these days everyone will get to see it. But my teammates and coaches know what I can do. So
I think you're just waiting for that moment someone thinks you don't have a ground game, takes you down, and then you're like, all right, let's go.
Yeah,
so
that's the plan.
I want to talk about the 3 knockouts that you've had like most recently. So first one I want to talk about is your most recent one, Mirsad Bektik. You dropped him with a left jab, and he was on the ground, and you guys got to the ground, and he was well, albeit he was down, and he was probably going to lose the fight at that point. You were looking to finish the fight. It was about a 30-second span that you were just looking for that shot. And one thing I noticed is you didn't jump in, you didn't take any like you didn't take any route like non-necessary shots. Like you did exactly what you had to do. You didn't go crazy with it and put yourself at risk. So showing like your ground fight IQ when you were in that fight, I think was prominent. Walk me through that fight.
Yeah, and that's the thing. For me, I always get in there, and it's I have a ton of respect for all my opponents and everyone I fight. I watch a lot of film on them. And my coaches, they're like, you give them too much respect. But I don't know how it's going to be until I get in there. So it's like I see who they fought, who they beat, all these type of things. So I'm just like, okay. But once I get in there, I like to, it sounds kind of weird, but like to get hit and just see, because then I can see their timing. I can feel how hard they hit. I can just see how fast they are and stuff like that. And then once I kind of get their timing down, and then that's when I can start to implement my plan. I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit of a slow starter because I do things like that. But my coaches know in the corner, like they know a certain like gestures I do. They know like, okay, he's got their timing. And then they know I'm going to start like start implementing my game plan and just start opening up. But yeah, with that, Mirsad, he's a tough guy. He's fast. He's a great wrestler, and I just wanted to feel his timing. And then I kind of, he was coming in with the same 3 combos, and then I caught him with a jab coming in, and that just hurt him. Just like my boxing coach Joey always says, he's like, man, you have a shotgun jab. Like he says, my jab, my left hook, all my stuff feels like a overhand right or a straight cross. So he's like, you have a crazy power in both hands. Use them. So yeah, just I caught him coming in with the jab right on the button, and then from there I just kind of swarmed in and looked for the finish. And yeah, that's kind of all I can say. It's I was kind of picking my shots, and then when he turned over, I took the back, and that's something I was working on with Chris Holdsworth a lot. And then that's when we're just making him cover up, and then I'm looking for shots wherever the holes are, wherever the openings are. And I know once I land one, it's going to hurt someone. And I already had him hurt, like my boxing coach always says, well, once you got him drunk, keep him drunk. And so I've learned a lot, even in my loss with Stevens, when I heard him bad in the first round, but then in my head I was thinking like, oh, it's the first round, we have 4 more rounds to go, conserve energy. I'm always in great shape. I've been a champion on a regional scene. I fought 5 rounds, and felt great. I feel like as the rounds go on, the better I feel. So me just second guessing myself and in that fight and telling myself to back off and conserve energy, really, I feel like, who knows, it could have been a different outcome, but I feel like I learned a lot from that. I should have done what he did to me in the second round, just pounce on him and went in for the kill. I had a minute left. But from that, I said, I'll never let that happen again. So once I dropped him, I went in for the finish. As long as if I can see when people are out, I feel like I know. It's like someone playing baseball. When you swing the bat and you hit the ball, you just know that it's going over the fence. That's what, when I land a shot like I did on Lamas or Johnson, like I know it's just like the cleanest, most fluid feeling. I know that's it, and I can just see him falling over. So then that's the case. I think it looks so much better. Just it's like a walk-off home run. I'm not going to follow up on someone, which I could. And I've seen people in comments say, oh, he could have, like I could done severe damage to both of them if I rushed in and went in for the big Hendo bomb or something. But I can see they're clearly out, and I think it just looks better, because it'll be on a highlight reel for years to come.
Yeah, and you can even see it, like even both of the knockouts that you had, like Lamas and Johnson specifically, like you can see the moment you realize you drop your hands and you're like, oh yeah, and then you throw your hands up, start the celebration. I want to talk about the Michael Johnson knockout just because I think it was one of the top knockouts of the year, of that year, and just I think people always talk about, like anybody I ever talked to about that fight, they're always like, oh, well, Emmett was losing and then he came back with that, like. I think you were down. I think that he definitely got the first round and then you got the second. But looking at that fight, that shot you had, the level change and the come over with the right hand, it was just textbook, absolutely textbook. As soon as you drove for that level change, he his left hand drops, you come over with that. I look back at that as one of the most perfect shots in MMA history, for me at least. That's got to feel great for you. Walk me through that fight.
Yeah, and with that, I feel the same way. Like I felt like I won the first round. I gave him the second. You go back and watch the fight, I clearly felt like I won the first round. And even looking on the judges' scorecards, there was a judge that gave me the first round, and then the judges gave him the second. So I thought it was 1-1 going in the third. I thought I was winning the third round too, So I know people are saying that, but if people watch that fight without the commentating, I feel like they're always so damn biased. Totally. You watch it on silent, just no sound. He wasn't hitting me with anything. Like even the Bektic fight and the Johnson fight, those are even though they're super tough opponents and everything, those are those fights. I came out of that and I was like, man, I could have literally went back and fought an hour later because I wasn't sore or anything. I didn't take any damage. I felt like I was a little more sore from, in the Johnson fight, just from trying to kick his legs and just, my top of my foot a little sore. That's it. But with that, he's fast. He's like one of the greatest. I feel like he's another veteran, he's like all-time great. He's fought the best. He's only lost to some of the best. And he's fast, and he was doing really well at getting in and out, so some of the stuff he would get in, I would try to, counter, and he'd be way out and I'd whiff, it was like, some of that, me going back and watching, I was like, oh man, that looks horrible. But Towards the second round, he started to get a little more comfortable. He was coming in and out, kind of staying there. He wasn't getting out like he was in the first round and early in the second. And then I just knew. Yeah, so I kept like going to the body, and that's something that I do, man. I change levels a lot, and it's like people know I'm gonna throw overhand right. People just think I have overhand rights, but it's like, okay, if that's all I have, I'm going to throw. I will hit someone with it in 15 minutes. I only have to land one. And I felt like since I kept going to the body, setting him up, he was dropping that left hand, and then I set it up and changed levels. So he thought I was going back to the body with a right straight or right hook, and that's why he put his hand out. And then I just lobbed it over the top. And you can go back to my first amateur fight. I land that exact, or I throw a jab to set up the overhand, but same thing, knocked out cold. The guy was, it was a bad knockout. You just trying to watch that. Even I beat a UFC vet, same type of setup, in my fight before I got in the UFC. And it was tough for a while just because I felt like I was knocking everyone out, TKing people on the regional scene. I got in, I was fighting at lightweight. I was hitting these guys hard, drop a few, but then they just kept coming. But now I feel like I'm kind of just settling in my own. And now it's just like, I know I have the power. I just can't force it. I felt like I was forcing things a lot. And I'm just sitting back and just, just being relaxed and knowing it's a fight, I'm going to get hit. But it only takes one from me too. And when I land that one shot I need, it can be game over.
Yeah. And I think I got my rounds mixed up on which one that I thought that you won. Just that even in that fight, like you talked about his movements and he's like, I agree with you. He's one of the veterans of the sport. He's great at getting in and out. He's a great boxer. Even coming down to featherweight, like he just had that boxing game that I think honestly it's very similar to you. You were, I think your underrated aspect is your movement. You're very good at moving in and out. And even when he was moving in and out, you never gave him a chance to have any sort of calm moments.
He never hurt me. Like I could see a lot of the stuff. If you're watching, I'm like slipping and rolling some of his stuff. But then when I'm trying to counter, he's way out, so I'm missing because he did really well in the first and second. But it's like I hit him with some hard shots, and I clearly thought I won that first round. I gave him the second round just because he was more active. But then I literally thought I was winning the third, but.
Yeah, like you landed the harder shots. I totally think that. And and I want to get you out of here, man. I just want to ask a couple more questions. So what I want to say is who improved your game? Like when did you realize like I can actually succeed in this? Who was the person like is it from Team Alpha Male? Who was the person that was like, you can do this, man?
And it's hard to say. I feel like it's a combination from the team, the training partners, the coaches. I don't know. I just feel like I've been an athlete my whole life, and I played every sport. I feel like I'm really athletic. I pick things up really well. And when it's hard for like teach a wrestler how to strike. Sometimes they're kind of awkward, but I feel like it's the same footwork, the same. I don't know. I just picked up striking really easy. And when I was the main training partner for all these guys before I even had my first amateur fight, like I was always like Chad Mendez, main training partner, Danny Castillo, Uriah, all these guys that have been UFC champions, runner-ups. Like, I was there, and I had like one amateur fight or none. And then I'm 1-0 as a pro, and I'm still, being the main training partner for these guys fighting for the world title, because I feel like I can emulate a lot of styles with like movement, and if I watch their footage, I can do a lot of that, and I'll just mimic them. And so that's when I just knew. I think it was Uriah. He said one thing to me though, like when, man, I want to say I was like 1 or 2-0, and he told me, you're one of the best fighters in the world, just nobody knows it yet. And he said that to me, and I was thinking, oh yeah, right, But then as the time goes on, and I am all these guys' main training partners, no one else just coming in that hasn't had any fights is doing this, and I'm holding my own. I'm training and sparring with even guys. They come from all over the world to train with us, and I'm going with top UFC fighters when I'm like 1-0 as a pro, and I'm doing good, Yeah. So that's when he just told me that, and it kind of, I didn't believe it at first, but then I just kept going on and beating all these guys, and then I think back about it, I'm like, man, maybe he was right. And here I am, fast forward a few years, I'm in the UFC. At one point, I'm ranked 4th in the world. And now I'm, I had a minor hiccup, but I'm on my way back and, still ranked 8th in the world. So he was right. I am one of the best fighters in the world. And he has an eye for talent. And And so he's the one that really said that, and it made sense to me. But then just everyone, like we have such a structured team, coaches, even my boxing coach. We've had just such a good like bond and relationship, and Joey Rodriguez, he's been like, I feel like it's I don't know, we just have a great flow and a great team, like just chemistry, you know what I mean? So he's elevated my boxing and striking to different levels, and taken me to all these boxing gyms and me sparring pro boxers from years ago has just really got me comfortable with just staying in the pocket and just like exchanging with people. But I still feel like I said, I haven't even got to show the world and fans like what I'm really capable of, but it'll come out soon.
And that just leads to my last question for you. Like, I know we talked about it, so who do you see you fighting next?
Man, it's tough. I'm just like, I never
You
call
want
anyone
anyone
out.
higher than you, don't
Yes,
you?
I just want people like, I'm ranked 8, so people that are in front of me, I know Frankie's going down to bantamweight, so by default maybe I go to 7. And then I was just saying, in a perfect world, Volkanovski and Max are fighting for the title. Who's next in line? Ortega. Why not let me fight him? If I win, I get a shot at the title. If he wins, he gets a shot at the title. That's just kind of my clear thinking, because if they said, who do you want to fight, my number one answer will be the champion, right? Like, that's my number one answer. Give me the champion. But obviously I can't do that and skip all these other people, and everyone's been doing really well in the divisions, and I know I feel like from 1 to 5, everyone just wants to fight for the title, of course. Like, hey, I want to fight for the title too, but give me the guy that's the number 2 contender then, and I think that's Ortega, and line us up for title elimination, and the winner gets that. But yeah, really anyone in front of me that makes sense, and I don't know, that, like you said, that's coming off a winning streak, and stuff like that. So I just feel like I got to just keep winning fights, and then I can't be denied.
Yeah. So thank you, man, again for joining, and I hope you get one of those opponents. Like I said before, I think you match up well against pretty well all of them. I'm sure me and a lot of other UFC fans want to see you get that title shot, and like I said, man, we're looking forward to seeing you back in the octagon. Thank you again for joining, man. For sure.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.